we'll keep you posted. We'll keep you aware of what's happening. And obviously, we've got a Facebook page that a lot of you probably know about now. So we update. We put information on there as well. Right, about the evening, we've got a very manageable number of people reading. We've probably got about 20, 21 people. So that's actually a really good number for the Zoom event. We have a 4-minute rule, which is just about one of the only rules we've ever had, really. Which is, I think that's a decent enough time to give you to read 2, maybe 3 poems, maybe a 600, 550, 600 word flash fiction story, or 2 300s. So if you can just respect that, the 4-minute rule, please, and that'd be fantastic. And people have been brilliant. In the years we've been doing it, people are really good with that. So thank you. Yeah, we'll probably have about 11 readers on each half, like in 10, 11 readers, and we'll have a break for about 15 minutes. We tend to wrap up. We tend to like to sort of get everything done and dusted within 2 hours. I think that's including 15, 20-minute break. Around about sort of after about 45, 50 minutes. All right then. So I've just been, Andy's been texting me at home, and I've just been sort of just amending the list, and it always happens anyway, so it's nothing new. But the people who I had on first were, a couple of them have actually are coming later. That's good. What I'll try to do at some time is what I'll do is I'll read out who's going to go on first, if that's okay, and then if we'll put it up in the chat when we can. Obviously, use your chat facility. I'm sure you guys are all familiar now with Zoom after a year or so in lockdown, so use your chat facility, please. I think Andy mutes people anyway, but you've got other ways to sort of show your appreciation, to put information in the chat as well, in terms of links to websites and any publications you might have, etc. All right, so the first person is I'm going to. So I was going to start off now. It's going to be start off with David Mellor, then Karl, then Mary, and then Gordon, Zola, and Eve, and Rich Davenport. They're going to be the first 7, okay. And then after that, it's going to be Amanda, Andy, Zoe, and Mike, possibly Mike Booth. Okay, so, and Roy Page, I'm sorry. All right, so the first half is David Mellor, Karl Hildebrandt, Gordon Zola, Eve Nortley, Rich Davenport, Roy Page, Mary Cunningham, Amanda Steele, Andy N, and Zoë Sîobhan Howarth-Lowe to finish us off, okay? And everybody else will do the second half, including me. Okay, so the first person who's going to kick us off tonight, it's a big speak, you're welcome to, thanks for kicking us off, David, even though you didn't agree to it, mate. It's David Mellor.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm just going to do 3 short poems, a bit of nostalgia here, and I'm going to start from the childhood. Under the sun, I was a good boy. Under the sun, I was a good boy. I never did wrong. The trees were giving as I climbed the highest branch. Under the sun, I was a good boy, though I never did wrong. The light would stay till I was too tired to kick a ball. But at home, I was a bad boy who always did wrong. The dark spelt foreboding, trembling, till the light broke me away. Thank you. That's the first one of 3. It's the second one now. I don't know if anybody's had this, where they've recognised somebody, normally a dead relative or something like that, and it's not them. And this happened to me in the glorious surroundings of Wetherspoons in New Brighton Rural. It's called He Wasn't My Father. He wasn't my dad, but I thought he was. Hunching over the bar, cracking jokes, stealing the show. I felt like tapping him on the shoulder and telling him, I've so much to tell you. But the words lay as flat as the beer I had just bought. and the lost words we had spoken, built up in the ashtray, are gulped in the beers, and the distant murmur of cars signalling goodbye. Okay, I've just got one more poem, another true story. There has been happy moments in my life. Just can't remember them. Okay, this is Snowdrift. This was one day in my life 10 years ago. And it's a nice winter poem to put you all like a bit of ice in your day, you know. So it's Snowdrift. I can still feel the air on my cheeks, an air long since gone, like the people I used to greet on the streets. And you were so small, I could fit you on the back of my bike, sitting under the slide so the cold rain wouldn't bite. I can still feel the freezing cold air, and I, worn out by life's daily chores, pulling the sledge to school, carrying the groceries that could feed a school, all done with love, of course. And then one day, on returning, you told me where you had been. I can still feel the freezing cold air, my lips that wouldn't move, and the ice that gripped my heart. Thank you, everyone, for lovely Manchester. That's my little bit for tonight so far. So thank you.
Thanks, David. I think as Zoe was saying, it's a great way, great points to kick us off, and I echo those words. And particularly like the second poem, and I think the imagery around the flat beer and the ashtray, some fantastic, and the ashtray of words as well. Some fantastic image that. So well done, Dave. Congratulations. Our next guy, I don't know whether people are poets or flash fiction writers or short story writers or memoir writers or stand-up comics. So I'll just introduce everyone as a writer, and you can take it from there. So our next writer is Karl Hildebrandt. I hope I've got that right. Karl's I believe he's a guy from Chorlton, actually, just down the road from here, and where Speakeasy is actually going to move to next month. And I think Karl lives in Liverpool at the moment. So welcome, Karl. Looking forward to hearing your stuff. Karl Hildebrandt.
Evening. Performance poet, spoken word artist, etc. Music projects on the go as well. So jack of all trades, master of none. Exiled in Eccleston Park in Prescott actually at the minute. So I've gone out to the Wild West from Manchester. But yeah, Chorlton's born and bred, so I'll be back over there, normally over there at weekends. Right, a couple of poems. I tend to do longer ones. Dave Mellor, yours was brilliant, mate. Seriously, I loved the imagery. Spot on, mate. Right, this one's called "I Should Have Screamed Whilst I Was Whispering." "I'm losing my voice," she said, a delicate croak inching toward a deathly hollow nothing. I was glad in a way because the arguing gave me some kind of respite. And my ears were shaking each other's lobes. Deathly quiet now. Quaintly was the only way out. Where once I was hooked, I've ended up fucked. Yeah, I've ended up in love, like an immaculate dream, with my eyes so wide but with nowhere to hide. And she's pointing at the window, then at the TV. And I'm pointing at me, and I'm taking my heart to pieces again. Jigsaw without a picture on a box, it just wasn't provided, yet I know where the pieces go, each and every one from memory. And suddenly she held me tight enough to hold me together, like a plaster on a shotgun wound. All fingers and thumbs succumbs, and I melt a little, yet stay as silent as she is. But it's better to be safe than sorry, yet I'm neither safe nor sorry. I should have been screaming whilst I whispered. Instead, I ignored it, the instigation, the protestation. everything else that came with it. And we kissed softly. And she lay with her head on my chest. And now seems the best time to be in love with love. That's that one. Big shout out to James Holt for that as well, for the title. Check James Holt out. Beautiful songwriter. Just got an award for being one of the Northwest best as well. We're going to name drop tonight. We have the Pig Farmer. Check him out as well. Right. This I'll do this dead quick now. This is another one, a recent one. It's called I Don't Know Why. That I don't know why. It seems so quiet. So early morning dawn chorus, still in slumber quiet, still in a touch eerie, speckled by that damp dewy mist that occasionally sits on the day and waits for the day to decide its options. Dawn gets dressed and puts a light on and makes herself a list of choices. And they differ from day to day. Raincoat, umbrella, fella rushing to punch numbers, mother dressing child who needs no temptation or temptuous teaching. Just put your coat on. Nurse caring or holding death as it arrives, or slinky and sneaky. Public servants serving the latecomers with training room patience. And Dawn decides if we're still here as well. Holding back down clowns going round and round, chasing the little meat left on the carcass of the day. And to the old man on the bus missing his deceased wife, he's taking flowers to her grave, where he sits and recalls the to-ing and fro-ings in the Anaglypts living room, magnolia, and pictures of Jesus. The boy made a man by way of a uniform, 17 clicks young, and his coffin was draped in the Union Jack coming back. And his man and Dawn both knew that. Fodder for the limp-brained powermonger who destroys rather than builds. And Dawn often sends rain their way. The wet stuff, unfortunately. Not the rain that smells of cord out. Dawn decided to reign on democracy, well past her skill set and not allowed in the handbook. She soaked it that much it became transparent. And oblivious, brittle and uncouth. Yet Dawn only did her job. Asked this way for her last task. So she decides it's time. The day went away, making sure the clouds are neatly put away and the sky is neatly ironed. And she decided to turn the big light off and get herself some sleep. Sleep that is hers to keep. And will she stay today having our say? I know I will be. Loud on the scale of then. Thank you.
That's great, Carl. Thank you for that, mate.
Cheers, mate. No problem.
Yeah, great. You know, some super stuff there, mate. I couldn't really get past my ears shaking each other's lobes. I think in that first one, I thought that was a great line, and the brilliant line, and the fingers and thumbs you come in as well. Great rhyme there as well. Brilliant stuff. Obviously, if you go back to Charlton, we're going to Dulcimer. That's going to be our new home. So
yeah, top,
so
definitely. I'm only in Charlton at my dad's Thursdays, Fridays, because that's my 2 days off. So go to see him. So whatever night it's on, I can swing it round and I'll get over, definitely.
Great stuff. First Thursday of the month, that's what we're aiming for, mate.
Brilliant.
So it's nice and memorable. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
cheers. Brilliant stuff.
Thank you.
Okay, our next writer, reader, performer, seen this guy many times. I always look forward to seeing him. I'm looking forward to seeing him tonight. It's Gordon Zola.
Hello. Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
Brilliant.
Right. I wrote this a couple of years ago, really, but it's probably a lot more relevant than today than it was then. It's called Time to Resist. And usually as a call and response, if someone got something on in the background, like it usually has a call and response, but obviously it'd be difficult to do that over Zoom, but you're welcome to try if you want. because I go, it's time to resist, not obey. Come on, let me hear you say. Then you repeat that. So you can either do it or mime or whatever. Don't worry. It's called time to resist. Why do you persist in denying when your eyes can see, your lips are lying? And why do you keep tornadoes flying when the seeds they sow leave children dying? And why do you persist in ruling by force when the winds of change keep blowing you off course? And why won't you show just a little remorse when greed and reception are your only resource? One day, all war and attrition will cease. The hawk will never devour the dove of peace. The bomb and the gun have had their day. It's time to resist, not obey. Come on, let me hear you say.
It's time to resist, not obey.
And why do you persist in ruling by power as you spy on your slaves from your ivory tower? And why won't you let aspirations flower as the rich get richer by the hour? And why won't you let people just be? The lockdown's not working, it's plain to see. And why do you turn a deaf ear to our plea when a new world is beckoning to you and me? It's time to march to the beat of a different drum and dream of a paradise yet to come. Politicians' feet are turning to clay. It's time to resist, not obey. Come on, let me hear you say.
It's time to resist, not obey.
So maybe we should stop wondering why, because come what may, we're all gonna die. So maybe today's the day we can have our say, because it's time to resist, not obey. Come on, let me hear you say.
It's time to resist, not obey.
It's time to resist, not obey. Thank you. Okay, this second one is actually wrote this when I was with Bard Company, and it's usually got a backing track by John Kettle out of Marielle and everything, but this is how I presented it to him in the first place. So this is a cappella. It's called Better World. I fear for the future, but the best I can do is build a better world. All the diggers and levelers, they knew what to do. They died for a better life for me and you. I mourn for Jarrow and grief. I'm looking for answers. I may be naive. How to turn the tide, I haven't a clue. Can only try to build a better world for me and you. Our suffragette sisters, they knew what to do. They stride for a better life. I walk in their footsteps, that's the best I can do to build a better life. Nothing's changed since the peasants' revolt. We need to bring war and attrition to halt. The crimes of the past I can undo, can only try to build a better world for me and you. I'm no hero or martyr, but the best I can do is try to build a world. Let's all work together, it's long overdue to build a better world for me and you. I mourn for Jarrow and grief. I'm looking for answers, I may be naive. How to turn the tide, I haven't a clue. Can only try to build a better life for me and you. Nothing's changed since the peasants' revolt. We need to bring war and attrition to halt. The crimes of the past I can undo, can only try to build a better life for me and you. Can only try to build a better life for me and you. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thanks, Gordon Zola there. Thank you. And well done to weaving that first poem there with the participation. It's always a bit difficult doing a participation poem on Zoom when everyone's on mute. But brilliant stuff. And well done to Eve. And that actually segues nicely into the person who's reading next, because it's Eve Nortley. Welcome, Eve.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to read 3 pieces from my current book, which is called Born to Brum. And if you like it exotic, spicy, and accompanied by Black Sabbath, this could be the poetry book for you. So my first poem is called Curry and Culfey. Curry and Culfey, what a fulsome feast. Eye-bright colour splashes, exotic dishes from the east. Saris down the Soho Road, jerk chicken, peas and rice, a multicoloured dress code, a sparkling tinsel life. Benjamin Z and Bangra, the blinding blues of city, villas vintage claret in this beautiful silver city. A bull in the ring, hot and sour soup, 40 shades of Gallic green, the Superprise loops. In the heart of England beats my soul's delight to the rhythms of heavy rock, and I feel all right. Thank you. My second poem, I'm aware I'm following a couple of Scousers here, so this is a bit of civic pride. It's called I'm a Brummie Me. I come from a city with music and revolution in its soul, coming in from under the radar, reflecting not just the parts, but the whole. A city where you can be proud to be black and blues, white and never on the right. A city where art is high on the agenda, where God's love can be felt on the streets, and it has a heavy metal beat. A city with a huge heart that has given many a new start. For any with an appetite to climb that high, has offered a ladder to touch the sky. Thank you. My final piece is quite relevant at the moment, when it's fabulous to see the trade unions doing such a lot to uphold people's rights. And this is very much a nostalgic piece about my grandfather, and it's called I Still Hate Arthur Scargill. The nippy neon tetras darted to and fro, those piscine lightning bolts electric blue and all aglow. The kissing guppies snogged and swam with wildly waving weeds, my grandfather attentive to every fishy need. Praying for his angel fish when came the news of strikes, this Thatcher-hating miner now berated Scargill's spite. My sis and I did homework in the flickering candlelight. He dug 100 tiny graves that cold and coal-black night. We toasted him a muffin on the fire's glowing embers, with Scargill cursed to hell and back, my granddad would remember. My grandmother wrung work-worn hands as anxiously she paced. She felt his pain as streams of tears ran down her loving face. His 70th birthday, gifted linnets by only son, he cooed and whistled as he bonded with them one by one, bought treats and cuttle shells for beaks, dispensed them little pills, smiled at them beatifically and kept them fed with trill. As I read Marx and Engels, which my grandfather thought quite right, in answer to my questioning one balmy summer's night, I asked if he could now forget those power cuts and candles. He said, I still hate Arthur Scargill. He's nothing but a vandal. Thank you.
Thanks, Eve. Thanks for that. Great stuff. Let's move on to the next performer, writer. Let's welcome back to Rich Davenport. Welcome back, Rich.
Cheers, Steve. Nice to be back. I'm going to do a couple from my book, Gormless, which is completely gormless. And then I've got one I've rejigged recently. A donation from every copy of this book so goes to the ME Association. I have ME, I wouldn't recommend it. This first one is I lived in London for a while in the 90s, early 2000s, and there seemed to be a lot of people my age at that time. I was in my 20s, from all over the show, from Australia and New Zealand, and also from South Africa. I'd never met anyone from South Africa because obviously I'd only heard about apartheid and all that evil. And actually, I think I got the impression there's a girl I used to work with, and she'd left, and she was very pro Mandela and that kind of thing. And obviously, this was after apartheid had been abolished, but it just was a different experience for me to actually meet people from South Africa who I suppose I'd grown up with a bit of a stereotype that every white South African was going to be sort of make Hitler look like a beatnik, and they weren't. So, and she had a couple of excellent phrases. It's not a serious poem. One was that if someone was having a hissy fit or a tantrum, she'd say, "He's having a conniption," which I thought was a brilliant phrase. And it sounds like a Danish pastry. He's having 15 conniptions. And the other one she had, if somebody needed to calm down, was, "You need to relax in your slacks." So I've appropriated both of these. This poem's called Conniption. Stop your conniption and take your prescription. Consider the facts and relax in your slacks. I'll give you one last chance. Stop your swivel-eyed rants. Still you foam at the mouth and refuse to be silenced. My solution? Suppository cattle prod violence. This next one I have no explanation for. They just popped into my head one day. This is called "Oh, What Is She Knitting?" This one's actually been illustrated. Well, I'll read it first, and then you probably understand what the picture comes from. Right, it's called "What Is She Knitting?" Oh, what is she knitting, and why does she knit? She stops only for spitting. She spits and she spits, and her spit one is brimming, but still she won't quit. Though her goatee needs trimming, and so do her pits. Yet she knits on regardless through acres of wool, though her beard is unkempt and her spittoon is full. I admire her resilience, I've noted her grit, but still, what is she knitting, and who does it fit? It must be a beast of considerable size, and if he takes after her, we must run for our lives. And that's the lady in the poem there, knitting away. And this next one kind of was inspired by an elderly relative of my mum's, and this was a phrase I'd never heard before. My mum went to see a friend of hers get married in London, my mum was from Wales but spent some of her childhood in London. She went to see this friend of hers get married, and she was in her early 40s, and she met up with an old uncle of hers who had absolutely no filter at all. And this was a guy who, when he was on his last legs in hospital, was giving odds on all the other patients. "See him over there, I'll give him a week." And he invited himself into the wedding. And as the bride came up the aisle, he said in a stage whisper, "Oh, she's no spring chicken. Had to, did she? Rhubarb job, was it? Faust." And that was, I'd never heard of the idea of a rhubarb wedding, but it's the growing process for rhubarb, forced rhubarb. Apparently this is quite commonplace in Yorkshire. They shove rhubarb in a dark shed where it's it grows quicker. But I think that's, you know, I've formed the rhubarb, the Rhubarb Freedom Coalition, because I demand the ethical treatment of rhubarb. And this next poem is called Questions at the Zoo and Farmyard Ethics. Are these fish official? Is this horse endorsed? Is this elephant relevant? Was this rhubarb forced? Or was it raised in a supportive, nurturing, rhubarb-friendly environment? Free to blossom, calm, not flustered, free from taunts of brandished custard, not condemned if it should stumble, no leering farmers' threats of crumble. I flee the zoo in tears of rage, release the rhubarb from its cage, and set it loose to wander free, as police helicopters search for me. Well, that's quite enough from me. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rich. Thank you, Rich. Lots of good comments there, lots of positive comments. Obviously, people really enjoyed it. Brilliant. False rhubarb. I need to know more. Great stuff. Our next reader is another guy who's appeared at Speakeasy in Stratford, and I hope to see him when we move to Chorlton. Ideally, I hope to see everybody, but I know it'll be easier for some people than others to get there. Our next performer is Roy Page. Welcome, Roy.
Evening, everyone. Are we okay? Okay, going to go with the holiday theme today, seeing as how it's so nice outside. This first one, I'll just do two tonight. This first one's called The Cornish Coast, and it's little memories from the past. Over 50 years ago, when I was very small, we went on a holiday for the very first time, all the way down to Cornwall. We camped on a site near Crantock Bay that had a tractor for us to play on, and we walked down the steps onto Lusty Glades Beach, where we surfed in the sea while the sun shone. But the things that I remember most are the rugged cliffs of the Atlantic coast and the crashing waves upon the beach, forever rolling, they never cease. As time went by and we grew older, our Cornish trips grew ever fonder. On every trip we found something new, different things for us to do. But the things that I remember most are the rugged cliffs of the Atlantic coast and the crashing waves upon the beach, forever rolling, they never cease. It's 20 years since I last went, just me and my sons in a little tent. They played on the beach and had such fun, and over the coastline I would run. They said it's the best holiday we've ever had, just two young lads away with their dad. But the things that I remember most are the rugged cliffs of the Atlantic coast and the crashing waves upon the beach, forever rolling, they never cease. Last year, I made that trip again to see if things were still the same. But they've built more houses in the coves with too many cars on brand new roads. Things have changed and time's moved on, and the tractor's gone that we used to play on. But the things that I remember most, the rugged cliffs of the Atlantic coast and the crashing waves upon the beach, will never change and never cease. Cheers for that. And I wrote this one a couple of years ago when we went abroad. Memories again. I was in Tenerife when I saw the idea for this poem, and it's called Just Like You. In many ways, we are just like you. We are of the same world and breathe the same air. Just like you, we like to play and be free. Just like you, we have a language and communicate with our own kind. Just like you, we feed our children with milk. And just like you, we embrace the ones we love. Just like you, we have families, and it hurts to be separated from them. Just like you, we go crazy if we lost our home and freedom. Just like you, we can overcome instincts, even of self-preservation when coming to the aid of loved ones. Just like you, we make love all the year round and for fun. Just like you, we get ill with pneumonia and depression. Our normal body temperature is 36 degrees, just like you. And just like you, we are threatened by human actions. And if you're wondering who we really are, we are dolphins, we are whales. Thank you very much.
Roy, thank you for that. Looks mega sunny where you are, mate. Cheers, pal. Okay, that's lovely stuff. Our next reader is a poet, usually a poet, unless he's going to do something different tonight. It's Mary Cunningham. Welcome back, Mary.
Hiya, everyone. I don't know if my video is going to be a bit stop-starty because it's not great connection at the moment. It's raining in Shropshire, just to let you know. You sound like you're not raining. It's not raining over there. Anyway, poem. I've just got one poem tonight, and I've got, I don't know, a lot of poems are coming out about my mum. She died a few years ago. Sorry about this, but they're just all coming at the moment, so you've got to go where the poetry is, I suppose. So this one is called Copy Typing. She was a secretary in her job. She worked up to that. She started in the factories and she trained herself and got to be a secretary. Okay, copy typing. Years after temping, she was typing. Not to lose me skills. She filed the papers in a drawer, as if an audit were near. I saw her kneel at the prayer at bottom of beds, bake scones and cakes for church fates, walk miles to borrow for children's books. I saw her hang out washing around the house, make a fire from leaves and cotton reels, nurse the pinch of sickened cheeks. I saw her fetch a purse for ice cream, as if a holy tune, raise her skirts to rouse us all up to dance, tell stories to make us all laugh. I saw her greet faith and salesmen as equals at the door, take the sorrows of life in like prodigal sons, and sometimes beg for money to buy food and shoes. I saw her let us go, the years we shed the nest, take up art and other pleasures, hang up pictures of those who'd left. It's her daughter's typing that's still at odds, not ready for an audit, although she always was. And that's it for me tonight.
Thanks, Mary. Thank you. Oh, that's some excellent stuff there. Hang up pictures of those who left. I actually wondered if I thought you'd finish it there for a minute. And I'm not saying the end wasn't good, but I thought it was great, you know. Yeah, very visual, very moving. Your mum hitching up her skirts to get you all dancing and stuff. Yeah. Obviously there'll be stuff there that a lot of us can relate to as well with our own parents. I know there are a couple of images there with the purse with the ice cream, except, you know, things like that. Yeah. All very resonant. Thank you for that. Our next writer is Amanda Steele, one of our co-hosts for Speakeasy. Amanda.
I've just brought out a collection of spoof clickbait called "You Won't Believe What Happens If You Buy This Book." That's the book. I'm going to read a couple of pieces from it. This one's called 6 Genius Ways to Get a Well-Paid Job Without Experience. Know someone in charge. Fail the interview, but get the job anyway. Then tell everyone how hard you work to get where you are. Auction yourself on eBay. Start a bidder war to get your friends to place bids. If you have no friends, create accounts for all the matrimony friends and get them to bid, then build up the hype and get real employers fighting over you, even though none of them will be quite sure why they want you so badly. When you send out CVs, include a bottle of wine. You may not have the experience, but by the time the recruiter has finished drinking the wine, he or she won't care. If you get rejected from a job, just turn up and start working anyway. They will be so impressed they will hire you on the spot or take out a restraining order. First impressions of everything, so on arrival, backflip into the room to distract them from your lack of experience. If you can't do backflips, a seductive dance will do. If your experience is non-existent, so you have nothing but the basics on your CV, fill up the blank spaces with images of cats. Everyone loves cats. And if they don't, you don't want to work for them anyway. And the next one's called Woman Discovers She's an Imaginary Friend. Mrs. Butterscotch of Bradford, Yorkshire, spent years working in her job as a warehouse cleaner, wondering why nobody except those who might be described as childlike or unhinged ever spoke to her. She put the rudeness down to people thinking they were better than her, and her lifelong friend Emily agreed, telling her not to let others make her feel bad. However, it was only after Emma's unfortunate hit-and-run accident when Mrs. Butterscotch realised the awful truth. Emily, a loner at school, always knew she could count on Mrs. Butterscotch to be there for her. The two were inseparable, but after Emily passed away in hospital, Mrs. Butterscotch found herself slowly fading away. At first, it was brief moments of seeing through her own hands, but she put this down to the stress of losing her friend and working too hard at the warehouse. However, after a visit to a clairvoyant, she discovered what she really was. She doesn't know how long she has until she disappears completely, but she has a stark warning for others. If you find very few people talk to you, then you might be an imaginary friend. If I'd known what I was, I would have dealt with it much better. But seeing yourself fade away like I have is the harshest way of finding out you're an imaginary friend. A helpline has been set up for people who might think that it might not be real.
Thanks, Amanda. Thank you. Great stuff, and good luck with the book. You know, it's good to see Andy there giving you the agent there, giving you a bit. Show them the book. Show them the book.
If I didn't chuckle and if I didn't clap my hands, I'd have got punched there probably. So
no, yeah, I don't think you needed that incentive though. It was great. Yeah, some really funny stuff there. Great stuff. Thanks, Amanda. Okay, the final read of the first half to wrap us up is the Super Poet. It's called and welcome back as well. Somebody who's been to Speakeasy and been in Stretford as well, and obviously on several of our Zoom events. It's Zoë Sîobhan Howarth-Lowe.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, I've got two for you. And these are from my collection that's coming out on the 11th. So very exciting. Train ride. My grandmother hands me crayons, tells me to draw. I search for pictures, barely able to see out of the window. Even kneeling, I draw halves of things. A curve of sheep wool, standing on the scribble of green that I know must be there. The sound of the tracks become a scratch, 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 dark orange crayon scoring out against the green in short, jerky lines. I imagine the lines being chewed up and spat back out by my half sheep. The ocean blows onto my paper as great curls of blue, drowning my half sheep. I turn the page, watch my grandmother sitting opposite, unaware of my eyes on her as she crunches an apple. I do not know how I should draw her, draw the suck of the apple breaking or the patterns of her chewing wrinkles. And the second one, my mum used to keep chihuahuas. She used to breed them. And so this is a memory because I was little at the time, so I had the smallest hands and they come in handy when puppies are being born. Birthing pups. The bitch is birthing in a nest of torn scraps of cloth, blankets, towels, bits of fluff, even belly fur, all scrabbled together, a rat's nest almost. Her collection is smattered with red droplets, pain smearing across the gathered comforts. I sit on the edge of the action, waiting to be called. My tiny fingers fit where no adults can, hooking out trapped limbs, flopping them free, or cleaning tiny mouths, membranous yet pin-sharp teeth already, rubbing limp back to breath, damp sodden fur, little rags. Or the worst, loosing the taut cords, slipping them free, only to have her bite too close, small strings of purple, easing out, teasing loose. The knots uncoil. I cannot push them back. Thank you.
Sorry, won't be a second. Am I? Yeah, I'm not muted. Thanks for that. Sorry, I couldn't see whether I was muted or not. Thank you, Zoe. Zoe, just tell us the name of your publication and who your printers are, publishers. Sorry, not your printers, your publishers.
It's Pocket Full of Stones and it's an Indigo Dreams book. I'll pop my website in the chat.
Excellent stuff. That's brilliant. Okay, thanks for it was a lovely way to finish the first half. I'll put the names up of people in the second half, but basically the names I've got here are Mike, Jay, Esther, Reggie, Krist, I'm not sure, Tom, Francis, Susan, David, and Clive. Hope I've got everybody. But I'll put the names up, and if you're down to read, I think I'll get everybody off the email that Andy sent to me. So you can always message me in my own, privately if you like, if you've got any questions. So we made good time. It's 20:38 according to my PC. So how about we get back here maybe 5 to? Sorry, does that gives us 17 minutes? That's enough, isn't it? So we'll get back here 5 to 9. Okay. Cheers.
Yeah, I'm sorry everyone, it's getting a bit late here in Turkey, just want to make sure, like, when they get to 27 degrees tomorrow, you know what I mean? So you can't beat us in England with the weather. I'm not having that, mate.
We'll try, Dave.
Yeah, I know, it won't work, mate. It's gonna fucking snow, and you know that. So thanks everyone. I'm sorry it's a bit late here. Take it, I really enjoyed it a lot. I love it here. It's so homely. Take care, everyone.
Take care, Dave. Nice one,
Thanks
mate.
again, Dave. Take care, mate.
Thanks, Dave.
Up along, baby. Love you. You all right? Gorgeous. Raining on Merseyside. I go dancing naked in the rain in a bit. Not on Zoom, by the way, so I won't ruin it for anybody. Looking forward to the second half. Krist and Esther especially, both amazing performers. So you're in for a treat with them too. I'm sure we're in for a treat with everybody else on as well. It's been lovely so far. Thanks for having me, Andy and Steve. It's been brilliant. Dulcimer used to be called Quamby's. It was an art shop, basically. And I had a little record store at the back at one time. We're talking I don't know, talking late. They were from the 50s. I remember them from the late 70s, and then into the 80s and early 90s. I think when they shut. The only record I remember buying from there was Simple Minds, one of their albums. Don't know why, because I hate them. But anyway, that's my contribution. Let's get cracking. Love it. Nice night.
Hi everyone, I remember Cornby's, it's great.
Evening, Mike, how's Edinburgh?
Oh, it's great, lovely sunshine. It's really nice, enjoying it.
It's snowing up there. It's snowing up there, Mike.
10 foot of snow.
It's been lovely. We had a few days in the Lake District. You don't often get non-stop sunshine in the Lake District, do you? And then Edinburgh's been great as well. So
every time I go down there, it's blizzards and heavy rain. So anyway, it's been warm up here today as well, mate. So I've not been able to. If anyone's wondering, I've not been able to actually get this. I've had to just record it because it won't connect up to Facebook before, so I'll just be uploading it probably tomorrow. So worth hearing. So no, good stuff. So you missed a good show first half, Mike. So we'll be starting up when Steve comes back in a few minutes. So
yeah, I'll check it out when it goes on Facebook. Sorry to miss the first half, everyone. I've just been really busy things happening here. So
you're away, mate, aren't you? So
it's been great as always.
Let's wait. Steve kicks back up there. Well, we'll see you next Thursday, Mike. Getting up at the workshop anyway, mate. All been well.
Hey, Mike. Hi, Mike. Hi.
Yeah, you're breaking up.
Am I breaking up? Am I?
I'll try again.
Am I breaking up?
Mike is breaking up.
Who with?
Connection's a bit dodgy. I might.
Not again. Bloody hell. So where are you, Mike?
He's gone.
I'm in a cellar conversion in Edinburgh owned by a mate of ours, and it was working okay before. We'll see how it goes. I'm up to duck out.
All right, mate. Well, we'll put you on. Well, you can kick us off, and then Andy can go second. Yeah. All right, mate. So yeah, do you want to? Okay, everybody. We'll get going. It's 5-2. So to kick us off in the second half, all the way from a cellar in Edinburgh, is Mike Booth.
This feels a bit cheeky. This coming on and going straight in. What's happening here? I should watch other people first, but my connection might cut out.
Yeah, just so people know,
thanks,
Mike goes to Speakeasy for years. He's been coming for years. So.
And I'll see you all at Dulcimer in July. So 5 minutes from my house, so it'll be great there. So this first one's called. I wrote this one this afternoon, and it's not quite finished, but I thought I'd read it anyway. And then I've got an old one I think I read back in February, which seems appropriate. So this one's called Posh, the place where I'm staying at. It's not particularly posh, but there is a bidet in it, and it got me thinking about what makes you posh. So this is just called Posh for now. Have you ever used a bidet for washing feet or bits, or played a round of croquet, spent a weekend at the Ritz? Are you good with 12-bore shotguns when on a pheasant shoot? Is your name too double-barreled? Are your family full of loot? Have you eaten oysters, caviar, or used a range of knives? Do you know what canapes are, or defenders on your drive? Is there a grand piano in your drawing room or hall? For Oxbridge Blues did you row? For your butler do you call? Do you pronounce it issue? Use the royal we or one? At Ascot, will we miss you for your island in the sun? Do all your ancestors all look down from their portraits on the wall, while you just snort and sneer and frown when commoners come to call? Your mouth is full of silver spoons, entitled by your name. You pay the piper called the tune, but never take the blame. For all your wealth and property, I wouldn't have your lives. For living life more properly just means we all can thrive. So that was a silly one. And this next one I wrote back in February, and it seems appropriate. And it was that thing about doors. where it was a theme of doors that they were asking for a poem about, and it feels like we're finally coming out of lockdown. Fingers crossed, let's hope so. And it's called Open the Doors. Break with vowels the locks on iron mill gates, unlock the gold and black, bring the bees back, make the hive alive again, display your lines in bars and bistros, parks, cafes, in rhymes. May we meet, greet, fling wide our doors, as on the silent street we stop outside, shoot the breeze, the ice now thaws, fling open wide our once locked doors. With fingers crossed, shake hands of liberty, come meet me, turn our verbal key, our poetry. As tram doors slide, we cram our lines aboard and catch an eye, a smile inside. No longer fearful, but with manky pride, we stand together, hope in unity. This we is verbal irony. As stanzas crush, we touch, holding hands as this our rush means so much more in dark Mancunian gloom than just screech of brakes and swishing door. This cause we hold in common, so much more together than divides us. And as our lines and stories make up our bones, our blood, our spines, it was curtains for theatre, silence fell. We will tell our children of the months when our traps shut, our halls, our festivals, galleries, days out with kids, roundabouts and swings, all were locked. The malls fell quiet, no sound of cheers from football grounds. Imagination then was bound. As holding breath, back indoors, alone and lonely, on screen only, our words, our pictures little seem. The shock of sunlight hits our blinkered eyes, as now each outing, meeting, listening, no more is given, become a new sunrise. The doors open, as do our hearts, and pulsing life to our new start, and doors of our perception beyond infection, opens a celebration of new direction. And now our spirit soars, and we with wedges, chains, verbal hooks, prop open now forever our long shut doors. Thanks everyone, that's me.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, our next reader is one of the co-organisers and hosts of Speakeasy. It's Andy N.
Cheers, guys. It's been a great night tonight. Just talking to Amanda out. Both really enjoyed this tonight. So, okay, right. So I've got a poem and a bit of flash fiction. One's fact, one's fiction. So you'll work out which ones you just want to go into it. First one's from a book I'm working at the moment about my imaginary couple. And this one's, I've set this in Preston. So this is Homemade Chains on Preston Market. Let's go out of the back door instead of the front, Sarah, and walk around to our car and enjoy the freedom that summer sunlight brings us at the start of June. Perhaps we can drive down to Lancaster and hopefully our car won't break down again like it did on the way to Morecambe. And you sat in that bus stop seat, bathing in the sunrise until the AM man eventually arrived. Or carry on to Preston like last time. Do you remember, Sarah? And revisit Avonham and Mellor Park, buried in tourists before going back to the market to see if that old lady was still there, selling those homemade chains. Do you remember her face when she said to me, "Be careful, oh God, be careful," when she placed it on your neck, leaving us both wondering for ages what she was talking about? Postmarking the scene back home, watching our lives from a distance, flashing in a restless freedom, our heads floating above water, before the tragedy that came next, shaking everything to a standstill when everything went wrong. Cheers, guys. That's my first piece. Now, okay, second one. This gets a bit more weird than the second piece. So, this one is actually a true story, and I was actually there. I wasn't the groom, and I certainly wasn't the bride, but this is called Bad Wedding. Your uncle threw the first blow with a wicked left-hander of a punch at the bride's uncle, who he'd been laughing with only half an hour before. It was reported in the newspaper before the bride's nephew had pushed his face down into the wedding cake. Your auntie then responded by throwing as many knives and forks at him in response, like she was operating a huge machine gun. And the bride's other nephew tried to respond, strangling her with the DJ's microphone. The DJ had it worse than anybody else, he told the reporters, shaking afterwards, where his collection of 12-inch singles was lifted out of their sleeves, and laughed at the groom, who then responded by smashing them over the DJ's head. The bar manager tried shutting down the bar in an emergency, but before he could, his bottle of expensive 17th century single malt whiskey was lifted from the bar by the groom's brother and thrown at the bride's father, but missed hitting the lights, increasing the bill of repairs well into the thousands. It all began, the newspaper claimed, when it was revealed at the reception the groom had slept with one of the bridesmaids the night before. But the reality was the bride only flipped out when she was told that it wasn't just one of the bridesmaids, but all three of them. She tried killing him with the carving knife, but his uncle dragged her off and she punched him in the knee regions and threatened to divorce him on the spot before her father managed to calm her down, saying he would pay for the damages, saying they should just go on the honeymoon and talk it through. They did. That was where the fun really started. That's me done, guys. I'll see you all soon.
Thanks, Andy. That sounds just like about every wedding I ever attended in Hume when I was younger. So, yeah, good stuff.
That's all I'm going to say.
At his wedding. Give it time, David. You'll experience something like that, I'm sure. So, yeah, thanks, Andy. Okay, has Jay managed to reconnect?
So quick look, I don't think she has actually. Let's just check.
Okay, well, if she manages to, all right. If she manages to, mate. Okay, well, after Jay, then it's so a big welcome, a big hello to Esther Koch. Welcome, Esther.
Hiya. I always like to bring something new to Speakeasy, but I haven't got anything. So it's something that I think probably quite a lot of you have heard before, but I haven't revisited it in a while, so I'm going to go for it again. So it's called The Taurian in the Nightclub. It was less a disco and more a forge. His lap was an anvil. She sat, he bashed a steel shoe out of her in his size, fills her cavities with magma warm and ductile, like tapioca pudding. She would have made an awesome sword. When she hears the clouds outside roar, she can't work out what's weather and what's war, such as her trauma. She's not a slag. She is slag, a waste, mecha bingo detritus, a Taurian in a provincial nightclub, or an aging heifer in a small town china shop. There are porcelain boys everywhere, a paso doble of private school red lapels, the Jaeger to her Red Bull. She permits the ring in her septum be pulled, but the iron in her sternum is ruled by the god Hephaestus, bridled by an omnipotent invisible man. She froths at the mouth as she bites his lip, like an agitated mare chomps at the bit. The heat of the dance floor makes incense of their sweat. There's horsehair on her cheeks, like primordial lichen on a rock or the woolly underbelly of a leaf. The rave becomes a crypt and unwittingly illustrates a tarot. The Queen of Cups is lost to rum-filled furrows, and a tequila hierophant is exhausting the fool with the esoterica of agave azul. Courage is 5'9" wearing 6-inch heels, and the star, she's wearing nothing at all. The lovers build a Tower of Babel up through the roof and into the night. Temperance exits the dance floor stage right, but the Taurian is pagan about her pole like it's May, and she cuddles her column with the backs of her knees and the arch of her back until day. The cold therapies the inebriated. The beaten whites of eyes are shot with Campari, soiled chinos, layers of chunder and mucus after party, served up on the concrete like eaten mess, red velvet residue on her dress, cream on her hold-ups. Is she Club Confused or Club Confucius? Silly string and sea foam, the stuff that makes childish nymphs of goddesses. Pink light on an oyster spill, a slug of woman ingredients on the floor, in the porch of someone else's home, like a slice of dawn gâteau. Thanks.
Esther, okay, that's great. Time for another one, mate, but looks like you checked out, and that's enough of a point for anybody. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. You know, heat of the dance floor makes incense of their sweat. Absolutely wonderful stuff, you know, and that's just, you know, the vomit, comparing the vomit to Eton Mess and Porcelain Boys and wonderful, wonderful stuff. Thank you very much. Okay, our next reader, performer, poet, writer is Reggie Agulha. Reggie.
Hi.
Drink.
Great ambiance. Oh, yes. Drink. I'm on a diet. Okay. Got our drinks. So this is called illustration. Illustration. So we have 4 colors here of purple, blue, orange, and green. With the black pen, we'll make the outline, and gently around the paper, we open a valley. You might want to mix a bit of green with a bit of blue here, just to make sure you get different tones. And around the valley, we can add some autumn trees. So pick up the orange and mix it about with the blue and a bit of green. And to the left of the valley, we can add a tiny little stream that goes around it and disappears in the mountains. And make sure to use plenty of green here, but mix it up a bit with a bit of orange, and then a gentle touch of the black pen. We will use the purple to show the people, and let's add them to the edge of the valley. And then we can add some more over there just by the river. And of course, this is how we illustrate the meaning of life. Think. Right, next one. Okay, the next one is called leaving. Leaving. You are definitely not staying, but you keep coming back. Leaving, but you never meant to be staying. Leaving, but you will come back for more. Leaving, don't forget to shut the door. Drink. All right, and the last one, a bit of tenderness, very quick one. It happened the other day, so here we go. Drink. So, my sister asked me to see my handwriting, so I sent her a recipe. And it said, 2 teaspoons of sugar, 1 handful of chocolate, a spoon of coffee, and a tiny sprinkle of joy. The perfect recipe to make a rainy day shine. Drink. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reggie. Thank you very much. Our next poet is Tom. Tom's in. I think Tom's based in London. He's had a publication. He's had a book published by a Manchester publisher, I think. And yeah, right. So here's Tom. Is it right? Is that right, Tom?
Well, Manchester publisher,
right?
Fly on the Wall Press.
Plan the wall, yeah.
That's it, yeah.
Next stuff. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So, yeah, over to you, Tom. Tom McColl.
Great, thanks very much. Thanks, Steve. Yeah, as a Brummie, actually, I was enjoying listening to Eve's Brum poems. And I do actually have a Brum poem in this book, Grenade Genie. I'm going to just read one poem, though, and it is like the poem I plan to read actually is a London poem. It's actually, I live in London now. And the poem I'm going to read it's about me going on my first solo shopping trip as a teenager to Oxford Street, which isn't really that exciting a subject. So I've added some monsters into the mix just to spice it up a bit. And the poem is called Shopping with Perseus. The night before I made my first daunting solo shopping trip to Oxford Street, Perseus appeared in the dark at the end of my bed. He gave me such a fright, but it was uncanny. His tunic, sandals, curly hair and ruggedness were exactly as depicted in this book I was studying at school. He ordered me to sit up and listen carefully, for he was here, he said, to warn me about a new type of Gorgon, the fashion victim, which lurked in every clothing store on Oxford Street. Fashion victim's hideous. Don't look directly at one. Anyone who gazes into an undiscerning eye gets turned into plastic. You must believe it, Tom. Where did you think those showroom dummies come from? I was stunned by this revelation, and Perseus, seeing he had my full attention, continued. Fashion victims can be recognized by their permanently bulging eyes caused by ridiculous prices on labels and the multicolored dreads which are actually snakes. With that, I immediately knew that what he thought were Gorgons were simply people copying the glamour grebo style of the Kill Kids, whose latest hit was Snake Eyes. And Perseus, having obviously seen the video in which their multicolored dreads turn into snakes, had mistakenly thought that what was simply fashion was a matter of life and death. Your mission is to enter their lair. Their lair is called Topshop. Locate and buy one pair of winged sandals. Make sure they're the red ones, then straight away get out of there. I'd go myself, but I'm 3,000 years old, far too old to get served in a place like that. But Tom, you're young. Your lack of fashion sense has rendered you invisible. There are mirrors everywhere to guide you, and your teenage habit of gazing at your shoes and never looking into people's eyes when they talk to you, nor you to them, will hold you in good stead when dealing with these creatures. So tomorrow, go forth, young Tom, and get me the winged sandals in red. Well, I knew even then that I wouldn't be able to find what he was looking for, and the Gorgons weren't actually going to be Gorgons. But not wanting to make a 3,000-year-old man feel bad, I decided the following night, when Perseus returned to ask me how my shopping trip had gone, to make up a story. I said I went into Topshop as instructed, and onwards up to Topman. And when he asked, did the Gorgons appear? I said no, as word had spread that a fearless human protected by Perseus was there, and they'd all be killed if they stuck around. But unfortunately, before the Gorgons fled, they destroyed all the stock in the winged sandals section, and that's why I couldn't get my hands on a pair. Perseus, though crestfallen, thankfully bought my story. He said, don't worry about it, then asked, could I tomorrow go instead to Gap and get him a cap of invisibility? Thank you very much. So that's, and actually, who would have thought that when I wrote the poem that actually Topshop would actually, the flagship store is now going, and they're almost, I mean, they've almost finished as a, you've had all that bad publicity since, but there we go. So anyway, so I never thought that would actually happen. I thought it'd be there forever, but there we go. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you. It's your fault, really, Tom, with that. You know.
Yeah, maybe it is actually. Yeah, maybe I've cursed them somehow. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's true. Good point.
With your Greek mythology and your shopping story.
That's it. Everyone's, well, there's all the Gorgons. No one's shopping there anymore. That's true. Yeah, that's it. It's all down to me. Good.
Thanks, Tom. Okay. Great. Yeah. Also, our next reader, I'm delighted to say that he's managed to reconnect. It's a guy from Hyde. I think it's the first time he's been to Speakeasy. Hopefully, we might see him when we go to live performance. Because and just to let you know that the new venue in Chorlton is about 100 yards away from the Chorlton tram stop as well. So, but our next reader, I hope I've got the pronunciation right. It's Krist Adzagad. Welcome, Chris.
Hello. I should be on. Is that unmuted now?
You sorted, yeah. We can hear you, mate.
Yeah, mate.
Nice
yeah. Right. So yeah, as Steve said, I'm from Hyde. Sorry. Things going wrong. Sorry. Yeah, I'm from Hyde. It's probably most famous for the serial killer Harold Shipman. Brilliant. Yeah. So it's not the cheeriest place in the world. But I like to think that, you know, wherever you are, whatever your life's like, you can accept it. It can be yours. Might be a shithole, but it's your shithole. So this one's called A Town Named Jekyll. Maybe there's a town named Jekyll where the kids aren't hard-boiled thugs. Parking's free at Asda and no one fly tips in the woods. Maybe around in Jekyll, trains and buses run on time. And maybe Jekyll's located in slightly warmer climes. Maybe Jekyll Job Centre is a joyful place to be. And maybe Jekyll's town centre has £2 bakeries. Maybe Jekyll's in the sun and isn't soaked with rain. And maybe round in Jekyll, every street is golden paved. Maybe rent in Jekyll Mall is easier to afford. And maybe Jekyll's populace is not so easily bored. Maybe Jekyll's pensioners aren't afraid to go outside. Maybe Jekyll could exist, but fuck it, I like Hyde. Thank you. That was that one.
Great.
Yes, a bit louder on stage. This next one's called The Knowledge of Inadequacy from the Very Beginning Leads into Necrosis of the Spirit and a Rotting of the Hope Gland. Long title for a short poem, but I like it. So. I hold out hopes I'll find your ghost on a mossy log in the woods. And will you ever see my ghost again, or are we dust? I'll be your bearded lady still if you'll have me for the night. The age of sideshows been and gone, still puts up a fight. Mistakes are made, as counsel says, and moping sits the king, monarch of inadequacy and other sorry things. I've seen you on the markets and I've seen you in the snow. I've seen you in the graveyard and in cosmic starfire glow. Melodrama seems to be a habit worth mislaying. And in my every silent hour, the song of you is playing. Yeah, so I've got another one that's a little bit cheerier. I'll do one more. So this one's based around the idea that, well, society and gender and all that, women have handbags because, well, they don't put pockets in women's clothes. But men have pockets, so they have their wallet and their phone and all that, and keys in the pockets. So when a man's carrying a bag, it's for a reason. What's the reason? Because you see a lot of middle-aged men wandering around with a bag for life. What's in the bag for life? So this one's called, What Does That Middle-Aged Man Have in His Bag for Life? What does that middle-aged man have in his bag for life? A biro nick from Barclays or a sharpened Stanley knife? Turkey for the dog or the head of a murdered wife? What does that middle-aged man have in his bag for life? Does he have a sizable stack of second-hand self-help books that make him feel like someone somewhere slightly gives a fuck? Binoculars for when he really wants a closer look? What does that middle-aged man have in his bag for life? 100 different credit cards, all in his sad name. Hopes of a happy future that never ever came. A list of old acquaintances that he would like to maim. What does that middle-aged man have in his bag for life? Soiled and stained lingerie that he found in the street. A primary school sports day trophy, an achievement he never beat. A warm and leaking package of suspiciously sourced meat. What does that middle-aged man have in his bag for life? A 2-litre bottle of Asda Smart Price Coke. An unconvincing novelty shit that he bought as a joke. Rubber gloves, cable ties, duct tape and some rope. What does that middle-aged man have in his bag for life? Thank you. So yeah, that's me. Thank you. I'll hand it over now.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Lots of good comments here as well. Yeah, brilliant. Well done. And I'm sure you, like a lot of other performance people, will be delighted to get back to live performance as well. I know I said this before once or twice, but I know in particular for performance people, performance poets as well, it's been, to actually miss live performance has been really difficult. So, yeah, be good to see you down at Chorlton sometime if you can make it. Our next reader is a poet from our next, well, I'm assuming that Susan's going to read us some poems, because she usually does. It's a wonderful poet from Leeds, Susan Darlington. Welcome back, Susan.
Thank you. Good to be back here again. And yeah, indeed, I have got poems for you. I've got 3 fairly short ones. This first one's called Shrill. Sister told me to cut the blue surgical stitches that clamped my lips shut, to dissolve the glue on my teeth and run my parched tongue over the sharp tip of my incisors. She said that as my heavy jaw unclenched, I'd gulp in fresh air that would split open my chest to surrender the words that all of my life I'd been taught to swallow. Words that were designed to keep me small and meek, and that should now be expelled in their shrill abundance, freeing me to grow into spaces I never even knew existed. Looking her straight in the eye, I held up a pair of scissors and paused, my hand shaking. Thank you. I seem to be writing quite a lot about family at the minute, not all of which is in a positive light. This next one's called A Mother's Love. I was a ravenous child. Mauled by the umbilical cord, I gnawed on a cage of ribs. When they snapped, I sucked out the rich, sweet marrow. I ate liver, kidneys, pancreas, crammed in greedy handfuls of heart muscle and fibre until my belly was bloated, the skin pulled drum hard. When mother was scooped out, I pounded my reddened fists against her limpid emptiness, screamed out for more, and was starved from her womb. She gazed down at me, held out a finger to suckle, and smiled at my hunger. Tired, she didn't even flinch when I bit hard, blood running. Thank you. And this last piece, I think yesterday was meant to be the first day in who knows how long that no deaths were recorded as a result of COVID, which obviously is a very positive thing, but equally, I think it's a bit too soon to start to forget those who died as a result of it. So this one is in memory of my uncle, Dennis Charlton. After you've gone, I try and recall a scene onto which grief can wash. One clear memory of you to make sense of a life, but each time you slide just out of reach. I understand too late what you must have suffered when disease eroded your short-term memory until there was only the past, a porous place that leaked out new connections. And I finally remember the last time we met, when our conversation looped as we looked out at sea, and you asked again and again if the landslide that blocked the promenade steps was new. Waves surged over the rises in the lull while I considered. A gull wheeled overhead, pulled away your attention, and by the time I whispered yes, you'd already forgotten the question. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Yeah, great stuff, Susan. Thanks for that. Yeah, second poem in particular, you know, fantastic. But all three were very good. Thank you very much. Okay, our next reader is, I think I've heard Francis before, Francis Golm, who's our next reader from Middlesbrough. I've heard him before, but I'm not sure whether I've heard him at Speakeasy. I think I've heard him at one or two other events, maybe Randy Horton's event in New Mills, I think, Francis. Yeah, so yeah, it was fantastic then. So looking forward to hearing you. So welcome Speakeasy to Francis Golm. Welcome, Francis.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. I've got a weird poem here. I've just got some strange poems that I've, well, working around a theme, so I'm just going to read it out. Maybe it needs to come with a trigger warning. It's a description of a naked body, and the body, it should become apparent, has had some trauma done to it, occurred to it, which tells its own story. And I suppose the intention about this poem is that it compares that trauma to, I suppose, the violence of describing someone when you transfer someone from their own story into words. You know, the kind of disassociation that you do to someone when you talk about someone, which is something that writers and poets do all the time. It's part of the job, isn't it? This is just, we'll see what happens. Here, Her index indicates a scar running from sternal zyphod to pubic symphysis, where the butterfly ball cracks, a deep cicatrix where my small intestine perforated the abdomen. She asks, does it put you off? Here, the asterisk of a cigarette burn, and here, ground glass. She concludes this anatomy lesson with a textbook scoff. This is what gets you off, isn't it? I lie. Exsanguinated of all venal glory, this is inadmissible. I adore her esophagus, take rubbings of her soft tissue yielding. I make myself sick with study these revisions as I reorder the facts to tip the balance in her favour. Her fibia, her toenails, her trachea, her tongue. I check her back for staples. Double-page spread, confessional, a centerfold dissection of words I footnote. References I dare not mention. Pure parenthetical information impossible to paraphrase. You'd be better off looking her up yourself, because all essays are really about the author. So you should consider this a crime scene. And it's like one kind of unit. And then I've riffed on it, and I'll just use up the time. It'll cover some of the same ground. Here, her index indicates a cicatrix from the zenith of her sternal snoot to the nadir of her pelvic gutter, a scoliotic drain pipe of scar pimpled by her swollen umphalos. I turn her over in my hands, cross-reference the other cross-stitchings, and, as is my training, compile a list of evidence in support of my nascent opinions. Then we make love. The bibliography of her spine, a wealth of citations I will plunge into again. Such a reservoir of rich research. I will not return to the stacks for other sticky-fingered researchers to peruse. The library finds me damned. Penalty letters will go unopened, and I will leave no forwarding address. Though I will leave the barcode where it is, a bold admission of guilt. She, the primary research for my dissertation on fallen women. An index condenses all references to a bird's eye view. The extraction of topographical information from the territory of the text. Her contents list gives the intentions of her authorial thematization of her own body of work, but the index indicates the real corpus laid bare. The associations she was unaware. I peruse this catacomb behind the self-effacing facade, begin my debunking, riposte after riposte. And I think I'm out of time. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing, Francis. You know, it was good to get almost like a fragment, a piece of work, piece of a larger body of work read out. You know, and it's you know, I hope you found that helpful as well. You know, it's always good as a writer to be able to sort of read out loud sometimes to other people. Makes you think as well. I'm going to make maybe that work, so I can maybe tweak that a little bit and so on. But you know,
yeah, it's always amazing how the clangers come out when you start reading it in front of an audience. So thanks for letting me do that.
But it's meant to be, you know, it's meant to be read out loud as well, as you well know, you know. So no, there's some excellent stuff there. Good luck with it, and come back and read some more to us. You know, I think Andy's, as I say, I think Andy's going to continue with the virtual, with the online stuff as well. Yeah, good luck with it. Sounds really good.
Thank you.
We've got a couple of readers to go, and if you don't mind, I'll jump in with a poem. And I've been working it up for quite a while. It's something that sort of in terms of lockdown, I was particularly struck by a story of somebody who was affected by COVID, and then it then affected their ability to do their job. I mean, basically, they couldn't do the job, and it then affected the whole lifestyle. And I thought it was particularly moving. So I wrote this poem based on that, and then I sort of did some research into sort of into remedies, if you like. So it's called Sommelier 2020. Her shallow tasting cup, antique corkscrew, silver tongs and stopper, candles and decanter, glassette and thermometer, tulip-shaped steel bucket, large bowl glasses with tapered openings, all lie in their boxes. No more new world, hardly a vintage year, her sense of smell and taste hijacked. She does her best to coax them back, consumes zinc-rich foods, shellfish, legumes, dark chocolate, drinks enough garlic tea to be banished to the spare room, coats her tongue with cinnamon, sprinkles chili seeds, feels the burn, gargles coconut and sesame, imbibes the juice of curry leaves, rubs mustard into gums, drops oil into nostrils, snorts baking soda, inhales carom seeds. Nothing works, and the mortgage holiday is almost over. She skulks around the house, unwashed in pajamas, contemplates smoking, strives to recall the scent of old leather, cut grass, sweet honey, her husband's cologne, her newborn son. Cheers, thank you. Got a couple of more readers to go. Our next reader is David Bond. Welcome back, David.
Hiya, thanks. Yeah, I've just got a very short story that I finished the other day. It's called One Night in Death, and hopefully it's not as depressing as it sounds. Matilda had always enjoyed passing through the cemetery. Nestled at the end of a long tree-lined road close to her house, it was a place of restful familiarity. It was not some macabre fascination, but a mild relaxant, still, quiet and green. Matilda often wondered if cemeteries had the same effect on other people, or the places of sorrow, or even fear. Matilda felt neither. She was open-minded to the supernatural, but had no fixed views beyond the mortal coil. She embraced the uncertainty, but thought little of larger things. And so she found herself cycling down that familiar road one lazy spring evening. The sun had emerged from her winter caskets, offering a warm, indulgent glow to the scene. The trees had begun to bloom, having cast off their frozen February shackles. Reaching the cemetery gates and cycling onto the main thoroughfare, Matilda released her grip on the handlebars and leant back, enjoying the sun's indulgent glow against her neck. Passing the disused chapel, Matilda became aware of the bird song, a deafening dusk chorus. Perhaps the birds too were celebrating a thawing of the frost. The scene was so lovely it led her to stay a while. She found herself a bench in the far corner of the cemetery in the shadow of an oak tree, and felt a tinge of guilt as she sat down, for the bench was engraved with a memorial plaque to some poor soul she'd never met, Harry. She wondered momentarily if Harry could see her now. Taking a seat on one side of the bench, Matilda allowed her body to relax and closed her eyes. She felt the sun's last rays warm her before she sensed the mildly disappointing dusk coolness against her skin as the sun retreated below the horizon. She silently prayed that the sun had only hidden herself behind the clouds and would return momentarily, but she knew that its work for the day was done. Matilda opened her eyes. Hello. Harry, faceless Harry, subject of the plaque, was sitting on the bench with her. Matilda knew instinctively it was him. Hello, Harry. What's your name? Matilda. That's a nice name. I must say you don't seem too disturbed by me at all. It's unusual. As he spoke, Harry let his arm fall by his side and it went straight through the bench. Matilda could see right through his body, translucent and shimmering, how one would expect a ghost to appear. He wore clothes that were well kept, but unquestionably from a bygone era. He must be as old as the trees, she thought, but he looked young. His death must have come too soon. I do feel disturbed, Harry, but mostly I'm embarrassed because I'm sat on your bench. Don't worry about that. It's not mine really, and it's got to be used. And it's natural to be disturbed. I am a ghost after all. But there's no need to worry. I'm just a normal person who happens to be dead. I must be imagining things. Well, maybe you are, Matilda, but the imagination was within the universal library of what's real. Matilda was taken aback, a brief silence. Ah, well, pleasure to meet you anyway, Matilda. Welcome to your local cemetery. Isn't it nice to know you don't die when you die? Well, yes, I suppose it is. I don't think I've quite processed it yet, but yes. I wish I'd realised that when I was alive, but it's okay, it is what it is. The sun, wishing to see the wholesome scene unfold, returned momentarily from below the horizon. Matilda and Harry encircled within her an unexpected haze. Strangers in space and time, but comfortable together, they allowed this strange and numinous moment to pass in blissful, warm silence. Once satisfied, the sun bid good night again, handing a baton to the moon. The conversation between Matilda and Harry resumed at leisure, without worry or expectation. At this moment, life and death were but only sparrows, playfully encircling one another in celebration of spring. And that's it. Thanks.
Thanks, David. Yeah, as a short story writer and a short fiction writer, I always like to hear that. Always like to hear short stories. Fantastic stuff. Thank you very much. Okay, last, but by no means least, is a new person to Speakeasy. It's fantastic to have him here. I hope we see him again, virtually and maybe in the flesh. It's welcome, big Speakeasy welcome to our last performer, the reader of the evening, Clyde Buzzerman. Welcome, Clyde. Hope I've got the name right.
Yeah, Oseman. He was close enough. Right. Yeah. Obviously, being a Speakeasy virgin, I did consider doing a sort of established favourite from my wonderful collection called It Could Be Verse, which is available from all the usual places. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do a couple of newish pieces, or one short newish piece and then one longer brand new piece. So the first one, and it's a bit of a test really. I need you to think how many words it takes you before you realise who I'm talking about. Waffle, waffle, ancient Greek, lie, 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 lie. Whiff, waff, bish, bash, bosh, bodies piled high. Dodgy dealing, my own pocket, contracts for my mates. Lying, cheating, journalist beating, bastard offspring in my wake. Oven ready, easy peasy, sold you down the river. All that money for the NHS, but I'm a natural fibber. Recriminations, going gets tough. Cummings lifts the lid. Waffle, waffle, Winston Churchill. I'm hiding in the fridge. So that's that one. I've got no idea who it was about, but yeah. The next one's a bit different. And I finished this on Monday night, so it's still pretty new, so it might need tweaking a little bit, but it's called Reincarnation. I never believed in reincarnation, thought it was the imagination of those in a state of desperation who couldn't take burial or cremation as the final act at life's cessation. Then I met a woman called Chris, a semi-famous hypnotist, and now I have an increasing list of beings who were me in the mists of time, saints and sinners, losers and winners. Each of their lives was apparently mine. At the first appointment, she braced me for the disappointment that the session may draw a blank. But I got the money from the bank, and bugger me, nearly had a seizure when she discovered I'd been Julius Caesar. She said, under the spell of her hypnosis, I gave a rather gloomy prognosis as I came to a rather sticky end. And this was a shock, I can't pretend, but there was more to come to strike me dumb. She said, if I paid for another session, she felt that she could get a confession that in another life, I'd been notorious. This possibility felt quite glorious. So off I went to the TSB, withdrew the consultation fee, and then she set to work on me. When I came round and all was done, she told me I was Attila the Hun. I pleaded with her, for heaven's sake, please, don't tell me I died of a nosebleed. That to me is more notorious than all the conquests which made me victorious. Oh, don't be so dramatic, she said. Think of the poor wife you'd only just wed, then hours later you were bloody well dead. Time went on, as it tends to do, and more past lives were discovered anew. At various times, I was Abraham Lincoln, Joan of Arc, Joseph Stalin, Bonaparte. I was the captain of the Titanic and someone unnamed who was quite satanic. King Harold with an arrow in his eye. Anne Boleyn waving her head goodbye. Beethoven, Bach, Chopin, Mozart, Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, Descartes. I was even a rat like William Hague, who went around spreading bubonic plague. But with such a checkered history, it really is no mystery why everywhere I go alone, staring longingly at my phone. No one wants to risk a sticky end or a flashback for which I seek revenge. Oh, yeah, and I'm that gullible bloke who believed any old shit and ended up broke. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Clive. Thank you. Thanks very much for that. And great way to end it, to end the evening. Okay, before we sign off, I'll pass you over to Andy, who'll give you sort of you may have a few messages.
Cheers, guys. Yeah, it's been great fun tonight. Now, as far as we're aware at the moment, obviously, we're going to be starting at Dulcina on the 1st of July. If plans change, we'll let you know. Keep an eye on our feeds and Speakeasy page. I'll be taking bookings from this Sunday by either the email, and you'll find it on my page, basically, on the Facebook wall, either my Facebook PM or drop me an email. Now, I've got to be sorting out over the next couple of days a Zoom one for July as well, no matter what happens. I'll probably try and do it 2 weeks after or something in the middle of July, but I've announced a date. If anyone wants to read there in addition, I'm quite willing to carry it on as well. So, because I think it's worked for us well, really doing a Zoom one the past year, and we want to try and keep it going in both if we can. So, but otherwise, that's Steve.
Yeah, brilliant night tonight. And yeah, just one more thing on that as well. I think we're going to be part of the Chorlton Festival. So,
Chorlton Arts Festival.
Yeah, so the Chorlton Arts Festival. So that's sometime in September anyway. September? Can't remember. But yeah, brilliant tonight. Fantastic. Great to see everybody. Lovely to see new people. Lovely to see our regulars. And as I say, we'll hope to see you in the flesh or virtually in the next month or so. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for
just want to say thanks to Steve and Andy for organising this for all this time. It's been brilliant. The Zoom ones have been fantastic. Well done.
Hey, hey.
Hey, cheers.
Cheers, guys. It's a lot,
guys.
Yeah. Enjoyed it all tonight. Thank you very much.
It's great night. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, great to see everybody. Yeah, look after yourself. Still safe.
Hope we can keep it going on Zoom. I'd miss you, Reggie.
Yeah.
Can't get down to Cheltenham.
We'll see you at the bar.
Reggie will be in Cheltenham.
I'll meet you all at the bar.
I'll be there.
Drink.
Lots of drink. Right, see you all soon, guys, girls. Stay safe.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.